Welcome back to Boilers and Beyond. I'm Jordan Jones. Purdue survived. Purdue advances to the second round of the NCAA Tournament following a 75-63 win over High Point here earlier on Thursday. Recording this here late Thursday night. I'm sitting on the couch. I've got the quad box on in front of me, but wanted to put something out here today just to talk a little bit about Purdue's win. Talk a little bit about the game on Saturday with McNeese. It's 9:50 right now. Tip times, by the time you're listening to this, you'll know when Purdue plays McNeese. As of now, I got no clue. Wouldn't be surprised if it's earlier in the day, but we'll see. So let's go ahead and dive in here. Purdue moves on. If you don't, be sure to follow the show on Twitter at BoilersBeyond. And be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so that you don't miss an episode. And send over some questions. You can do that on Twitter. You can email the show, boilersandbeyondpod@gmail.com. But Purdue wins 75-63. Purdue moves on. It wasn't Purdue's best performance. I did not think that was the case by any means, but it was enough. And that's all that matters in this single elimination tournament that we're in at this time of year. Purdue played High Point, and Purdue played well enough to beat High Point. Purdue played well enough to beat other teams. Purdue didn't play well enough to beat anybody by any means. But, you know, when you look at this box score, when you look at the way the game played out, I thought early on Purdue had some chances to really pull out and take a lead. Purdue had a goaltending call that didn't go its way, a pretty blatant one, actually, that was just 2 points that Purdue didn't get. Purdue had some things, a turnover on an inbound where I think Fletcher Lawyer crossed the inbound line. Purdue had a four-shot possession in the first half where Miles Colvin, I think, missed 3 shots and Jakari Harris missed 1. Things like that. Purdue threw a lob from 70 feet that didn't get completed when Purdue had a lot of momentum. Those small things really start to add up. Purdue missed a lot of free throws in this game. Purdue goes 14 for 22 at the free throw line, and that doesn't count the 2 that it didn't get to shoot because it missed front ends of 1-and-1s. Now, it was Will Berg and Trey Kaufman-Renn. It's not like those guys are your better free throw shooters. So it comes with the territory there. But a lot of things there added up. Purdue only makes 5 threes in the game. Only shoots 15. It didn't shoot that many threes. But, a lot of stuff adds up here. And for Purdue to come out and win the way it did, I think you have to feel pretty good about the result. You feel good about any tournament win. Braden Smith just goes 6 for 19. He had some looks in the mid-range that he normally makes, and it almost feels like he is on the precipice of just having an explosion of a game. If you're Purdue, you really hope that's on Saturday, of course. It looked like he was going to have that early on. It never quite materialized, but when Purdue needed it, he went to the basket and got a bucket. And then he hit that pull-up 3 when I don't know why High Point just left him completely, but it did. He was wide open. He hits a 3 to put Purdue up 10. And while you never feel great about a lead in the NCAA tournament, at that point you thought Purdue was going to get out of there with a win. That was kind of the moment that I think Purdue kind of pulled away for good. Trey Kaufman-Renn goes 1 of 5 at the line, just 1 field goal for Fletcher Lawyer. Purdue overcame all of that. And that's what you have to do this time of year, because you're never going to play well. And I don't want to say 6 times in a row like that's something that's on the table here, because I don't know that I think it is. But in a perfect world, you're probably not going to play super well 6 games in a row. You have to find ways to win ugly sometimes. And while I wouldn't call this winning ugly, Purdue didn't play its 100% best, and it still got out there with a win. When you came into this game, as we talked about on the podcast previewing the tournament, the worry was that this was going to turn into a real shootout because Purdue would struggle defensively. against a very efficient high point offense, and that Purdue would struggle to rebound with a 7-footer out there for high point, with some longer guys. A team that rebounds well, granted against lesser competition, but it rebounds well. That didn't happen. Purdue absolutely dominated the glass. Purdue gets 45 rebounds, 19 of those offensive. High Point only had 24 rebounds the entire game. That is a domination on the glass, and that's a big reason why Purdue was able to win. It wasn't like Purdue had all the second chance. It did have 20 second chance points. That's quite a bit. That's what happens though when you're not able to shoot particularly great, but you get all these offensive rebounds. You just give yourself more cracks at it, and that's a big part of why Purdue was able to pull away and why this thing didn't come down to the final seconds. Purdue held High Point to 63 points, only 43% from the field. High Point only shot 11 free throws. You hear all of those numbers coming in, and you know Purdue's going to win at that point. What you didn't want this to turn into was an 85-80 affair where High Point is just building momentum throughout, because that's what scoring does. Even if you're giving up points, if you're scoring points, you're building momentum, and you're getting the crowd behind you, and Purdue never let High Point do that. At times it started to teeter that way, but it never went over the edge, and that was big for Purdue. That was really, really big. I thought this was the best Purdue looked defensively in a while. Now, to be completely fair, if you're lining up everyone Purdue has played since January, kind of the loose time that Purdue's defense really started to take a nosedive, this is one of the lesser opponents Purdue has played since then. That's not to say High Point didn't belong, because it absolutely did. That is a very good mid-major team. That is the type of team that this event is built around. High Point's a good team, very good team, but Purdue's physicality was more than it can handle. And it's not like that's a top half of the Big Ten team or something. It's not. It's a good mid-major team. It's a really good mid-major team, but that's a team that Purdue is legitimately better than. And Purdue looked that way defensively. Purdue was really connected. Purdue switched really cleanly, with the exception of when Will Berg was in there. It wasn't switching when Will Berg was in there. But Purdue was very connected. It looked in sync on the defensive end the entire game. And that was huge. Absolutely massive. You have to take that for what it is, because it doesn't guarantee anything moving into Saturday. You know what that cliff looks like. You know what falling off the proverbial cliff looks like and hitting rock bottom. You don't want to get there. But you know it's a possibility. I think you're going to have some challenges from McNeese State that you didn't from High Point. Purdue did a good job of keeping High Point from getting those straight line drives at the rim. McNeese is going to be more of a challenge there, but you can't let that happen. Those points are just too easy, and that's a big part of why Purdue won today, because it didn't allow those. I think even adding to the defensive impressiveness here is that Purdue did a lot of that with a front court of Cam Heide and Trey Kaufman-Renn. Now, Will Berg was a part of it, and we'll get to him, but that's a really small front group, especially when you have the 7-footer from High Point. His name's escaping me right now. That's two of the same name, but Purdue did a great job of attacking the glass, of being physical, of closing out possessions, and it didn't look to get out in transition a ton. It rebounded really well, but it hit the offensive glass really well. It hit the offensive glass really effectively, and it stole some possessions there. It stole some opportunities. Camden Heide was awesome. 11 and 10 from him. He plays 31 minutes, probably not what he would have expected. Just fantastic. Fantastic day from him. He's been good lately. And it's been an up and down season. It's probably not been the smooth sailing type of year that a lot of people had hoped for Cam Heide, probably himself included. But he knocks down a couple threes. He's making big plays defensively for you. He's doing some great things. That's all you can ask for. This time of year, this is when you want your guys to be playing their best, and he is right now. It was interesting, too. I mean, Caleb First only played 9 minutes in this game. It was a true either or, him or Camden Heide. And with the way High Point was defending Caleb First, and by that I mean they weren't defending Caleb First, Purdue really needed to get Heide on the floor for some spacing purposes. That's what it came down to, was the way they sagged off of Caleb First made it too difficult for Trey Kaufman-Renn to get stuff going in the lane. With Heide out there, he had room to operate. Massive. Wilberg, wonderful minutes. His best game in a Purdue uniform today. I don't think it was even close. If you'd have told me before the game that Wilberg was going to play 10 minutes and Trey Kaufman-Renn was going to be in foul trouble, I'd have guessed it didn't go particularly well, because it just hasn't for Purdue this year. Give Wilberg a lot of credit, though. He stayed ready. He went out there and competed. He was incredibly disciplined following the assignments. He did a great job. He did everything you could have asked for. He's got to play a limited role. He can't go out there and do everything, but he delivered huge value when Purdue really had to have him. Just eight rebounds for Jakari Harris in 14 minutes. There were a few freshman moments, a couple of turnovers that you would have rather not had. He had the one late in the game that led to a pick six that was suboptimal. I think Braden Smith stole that, so it wasn't a true pick six, but you get the gist. Really good largely, though. Really, really good. There's a lot to like about his future. A lot to be excited about. And look, Purdue took care of business. As I said, there were a few times in that second half where it got close. Purdue didn't panic. Purdue looked the part of a team that has been in this situation before, has been in NCAA tournament games before, with your leaders, with your veterans, and High Point hadn't. And that's normal. I mean, mid-majors aren't ever going to be like that, really. It's almost impossible. But you saw Purdue's veteran presence. You saw Purdue get big buckets when it needed them. Trey Kaufman-Renn with a huge little fadeaway. I mean, not easy shots, but Purdue was great when it needed to be. And that's what matters at the end of the day. Great High Point turnout. It seemed like the High Point turnout there was really good. I'm obviously not in Providence. I know a few people who are. Sound like High Point had a great turnout. Purdue kind of wins that battle. I'm telling you, it's one of the downsides of playing McNeese, too, is that when that game gets close, the entire arena is going to rally behind the underdog. If you play Clemson, there's not an underdog to rally behind. It's a 4-5 game. But, now you do get McNeese. And this is a better team than High Point was. 30 spots higher on KenPom, thereabouts. It's a solid team, man. Say what you want about Will Wade. The past is checkered. The current reality is a little bit interesting with him kind of taking the NC State job while his season's still going on. And then I haven't listened to his presser yet, but it sounded like he was basically accusing Villanova of trying to hire a coach out of the NCAA tournament. I don't know. Really interesting stuff there. But it's a good team. It's a team that is solid on both ends. Like when you look at the statistical profile of High Point, it was really good on offense. It was really good on defense. When you look at McNeese. It is top 75, top 65 in both offense and defense at Ken Pom. It is a slow tempo. So another one like Purdue just saw, another slow tempo game. Its opponents shoot a ton of threes. Almost half of its opponents' shot attempts come from three. You saw it go to a zone against Clemson earlier. That's something Purdue's going to have to be prepared for. Purdue has not seen a ton of zone this year. It'll have to be ready to really make some moves there and to find some holes, because your traditional pick and roll is not going to be perfect against a zone. It has its flaws there. They force turnovers pretty well. That's something that Purdue's going to have to watch out for. It's done a really good job recently at not turning the ball over, but McNeese is top 20 in the nation in turnover generation. It gives up a ton of offensive rebounds because of how havoc it plays. Purdue's got to take care of the ball. You're one spell of turnovers away from going home and losing to another double-digit seed. And Purdue can't avoid these things, man. This is kind of crazy. I mean, this is the third time in 4 tournaments that Purdue will have seen a double-digit seed after the first round. Because in 2022, it did it against St. Peter's in the Sweet 16. Last year, it did it against NC State in the Final Four. Now it's going to get McNeese in the second round. So a really interesting anomaly there. I think McNeese is a better team than what you saw today. It played Alabama to 8 points. It lost to Mississippi State by 3. Obviously, it beat Clemson. I'm not sure after watching that how much of that was about McNeese versus how much was about Clemson, but I'm not the biggest Brad Brownell fan in the world. We'll see. I mean, this is one Purdue's got to be high alert for. Purdue obviously knows that. These guys aren't dumb. Too many of these guys lost to FDU for them to not be aware of what it's got going into. And look, this is a team that was 19-1 in its league. This is a team that's only lost once since December 14th. A away game at Nichols. I mean, it's won 12 games in a row. Third longest active winning streak. Yeah, this is going to be a tough game, but it's one that Purdue can certainly get. Athleticism over skill a little bit for this team. Will Wade's a good coach, albeit there's some baggage there. But look, if you can win this game, you're going to Indianapolis, and that'd be really good. I mean, that'd be a really successful year if you ask me. If you can get to the Sweet 16, who knows what happens in Houston, Gonzaga. Neither of those teams would be a real joy to play. Purdue's had Gonzaga's number a little bit, but if you can get to that point, you'll take it. You let the dust fall how it may. Purdue's got to be connected defensively. Purdue has to maintain that level of connection defensively. If it does, and if it can shoot a little better, then it's going to be fine. There's not really an outcome where Purdue plays that well defensively, doesn't turn the ball over, and probably shoots a little better than it did against High Point, and loses. You just have to get to that point. You have to be able to do all of those things. And it's easier said than done because the margin for error here isn't very high. But that's about all I've got here. I wanted to come on and give you guys something. It's the best time of the year. There's a lot to talk about. So that's all I've got. We'll be back here on Sunday or Monday. We'll see what happens. Obviously, the Indianapolis game would be on Friday for the Sweet 16 if Purdue wins. So got some time. In the meantime, send me questions, subscribe, wherever you get your podcasts, follow on Twitter at BoilersBeyond. We'll talk some more on Twitter on Saturday. Talk to you guys later. This episode was brought to you by me, yes, me. When I'm not watching sports, or more accurately, talking about them, I'm talking insurance with the people of Indiana. As an agent with Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance, I'm here to help you protect what you've worked hard to achieve. From home and auto to life and business insurance, I'm here to help you. Give me a call at 317-846-5861 or email me, jordan.jones@infarmbureau.com. Let's protect you from life's everyday risks.